and Luis Severino, etc. But if he were to come into camp and get a shot and really do well, you never know. Spring training's a crazy time of year. Dylan Betances won his spot in spring training whenever he was able to strike out Jose Batista and Edwin Encarnacion in that bases loaded mess that they brought him into in spring training that year. That's where he won his spot. And a lot of people weren't expecting him to win a spot out of camp. So anything's possible, but I do think Jordan Montgomery will at least get a chance next year. And Chad Green, he'll obviously get a chance. Personally, I don't think Chad Green's a starter. I think he profiles much better out of the bullpen. I hope he proves me wrong, but I do think that he probably is more of a bullpen pitcher. So I will say that probably between Chad Green and Luis Severino, you'll at least see one of them in the bullpen next year, if not both of them. But if I were to make a prediction for next season, I'm going to say that the Yankees go with Tanaka, Pineda, someone they trade for, Luis Cessa, and CC. So that gives you, it gives you 5. So I think that's probably what they're going to go with. I think they'll probably go after someone like a Hector Santiago or somebody to try and be a veteran who has some success in the majors at some point, but they don't want to pay for anybody. So someone like a Hector Santiago would probably make sense, but we'll see. If not, they could go the route that honestly I'd like to see them go, which is just don't do anything, and next year just let the kids work and see what the kids have. I don't want to get into this too much because it covers over some of the questions that we do have coming up. So we'll just go ahead and on to the next question, and that is, what are you looking forward to the most out of the Arizona Fall League? Definitely Greg Bird. Hopefully Greg Bird can stay healthy. It'd be nice to see him perform well in the Arizona Fall League like the year before he ended up making the roster. But at the same time, coming off a labrum surgery, I think I'm just looking for him to get healthy and get reps more than anything else. James Caprillion will be another one to really keep your eye on. He'll be there. Really excited to see what he does and how he throws after all the uncertainties he's went through this year. If he pitches well, he could be somebody who at the end of the year could be in the Yankee rotation. They were fast-tracking him through the organization before he got hurt this season. So I think that there's a chance you could actually see Caprillion next year if he stays healthy and his stuff stays sharp. So those two are definitely the highlights of the Arizona Fall League. We'll keep you updated on that on the website. It'll definitely be an exciting year for the Yankees in the Arizona Fall League this year, though. The next question is, when you see Gary Sanchez, who do you think of him the most as an MLB comp? Well, where you do MLB comps, you don't want to come across like this guy is this person and he's going to have this kind of career. That's not what I'm saying by this, but when I look at him, I think the person that I see the most is Miguel Cabrera. He really puts me in the mind of Miguel Cabrera. He has a nice stroke, just like Miguel Cabrera. I mean, if you watch them, their swings are very similar, and they both have power. They're gap hitters. I'd say definitely Miguel Cabrera is the person that Sanchez reminds me of the most. Next question. Most likely sleeper prospect to help the Yankees next season? Oh, that's a good one. Well, if we're talking sleeper prospects, I'm going to talk about somebody that nobody really talked about all season that I really think can help the Yankees. That's Jacob Lindgren. I know whenever Jacob Lindgren came up in the past, he really struggled. But I looked at Jacob Lindgren to really put together a solid season this year. Next year, I'm sorry. I think Lindgren has the stuff. His first year in the minors, he was averaging over 2 strikeouts an inning. He ran roughshod through the minors. I truly believe that he was pitching injured. So I look forward to see him coming back from his injury next season and seeing if he can help the Yankees. But as far as a sleeper prospect, that's who I'm going to go with. the Yankee bullpen struggled down the stretch, and so if they could get a young arm that could help them, I think Jacob Lindgren could really help them. And going one step further than that, I really liked Nick Rumbelow, and he's been out all year. We didn't see him at all this year, and he will be back next year. The same with Brandon Pender. So look forward to those guys coming back next year. I think they could have a potential impact on the Yankee bullpen for sure. Who will have the biggest turnaround next season? Well, I would say two people play the same position, and I think really one of them has to turn it around. And if they don't, then you're just going to continue to develop jobs out of it. But I think Aaron Hicks and Aaron Judge could both have seasons where they potentially break out next season. I know Hicks was sort of a scapegoat for the Yankees this season. Not really sure why Yankee fans hated him so much. Well, I know why everybody hated him so much at first. The guy was batting about 180, and he had 200-plus at-bats. So I understand why people didn't like Aaron Hicks. But at the same time, when I look at Aaron Hicks, I see a five-tool player. He plays great defense. He's got speed, definitely has strength. I mean, when he hits home runs, he launches them. So he definitely has some pop. The problem is I don't know if he can hit for average. He's definitely got some holes in his swing. But the one thing that you can't take away from him is he is a great defensive player. So I do think Aaron Hicks has a chance of turning it around next year. Same with Aaron Judge. He was striking out at an astronomical rate. And towards the end, before he got injured, as funny as this sounds, he was at least starting to make contact. I can think of many times where he popped the ball up towards the end and even grounded out. So he started to cut down the strikeouts a little bit towards the end. So I'm somewhat optimistic about Aaron Judge being able to turn it around next season. Obviously, the guy has freakish strength. But he might have been there a little bit before he was ready for the majors. But I look forward to seeing what he can do next year, and I definitely think that he could be a potential guy to turn it around. But both of those guys do not compete with my turnaround player of 2017, and that is going to be Luis Severino. Had a terrible year this year statistically. Us diehard Yankee fans know that Severino ended up pitching much better out of the bullpen than what he did in the rotation. So I'm excited to see Severino next year. Obviously, a young kid, has great stuff. If he could just learn to manage his off-speed pitches and locate them better, he would be an absolutely devastating starter. But the reason that I say he's my 2017 turnaround player of the year is because in spring training, I think he's either going to go one way or another. He's either going to blow up as a starter, or that's going to cause him to go into the bullpen where I think he'll really thrive. Or he'll pitch great as a starter and he'll make the rotation in opening day. And I think if he pitches great as a starter, he'll pitch the whole season through really well. So I think next year is a really good year for Severino. He should be able to come out of the bullpen if he doesn't do well in spring training. And I really don't see how he can fail in the bullpen with the stuff that he has. So looking forward to Luis Severino potentially turning it around next season. Next question is, who are the main free agent targets next season, and also who are the main trade targets? Well, let's go ahead and just do this one question at a time. So who are the free agent targets? Really, I think the Yankees are going to sit back and have another calm season in the free agent market. I don't really see them pursuing too much. I definitely think that there's a chance that there's going to be a reunion between the Yankees and Chapman. Not saying that because I personally believe that Dellin Betances can close. A lot of people have said, oh, he's performed so bad since he's been in the closer's role. He's not a closer. I don't typically go along with that because he hasn't really gotten hit very hard. The biggest problem is that people have finally figured out that you can steal on him and that he can't throw the ball to a base. So I think that if he works on that in the offseason, I think that Betances will obviously be fine, but he's going to have to get better at fielding the ball. He's going to have to get better at throwing the ball to bases. I mean, the guy throws 100 mile an hour and dots the corner of the black, but he can't make a 45-foot throw to a catcher. It's just absurd. It shouldn't be that big of an adjustment. So I look forward to seeing what Betances does next year. But with that being said, you need more bullpen depth. And down the stretch, the bullpen is what really killed the Yankees. And also at the same time, you need somebody who can close out games. And obviously 2017 is a year where they probably look to continue to rebuild. So I think they're looking to lock up a stellar closing pitcher that they'll be able to have for years to come. Chapman's still relatively young, so I look for Chapman to probably reunite with the Yankees, which would really be funny because we were able to get him for nothing. Bring him here, help us win a few games, trade him to the Cubs, get a huge package, basically get Castro for free, get Adam Warren, and then he returns back to the Yankees. That would be pretty funny. Another person that they might possibly look at is Billy Butler, cheap guy who really has pretty decent career numbers. He's an AL East killer. He kills the Red Sox at Fenway. But I'm not completely sold on him coming back. As a matter of fact, I don't think he's going to come back because I do think Tyler Austin will win the backup job next season out of camp. But at the same time, it is the Yankees, and you never know. So there is a potential that they could sign Billy Butler to be a right-handed DH and at the same time an insurance policy on Greg Bird. But outside of those two, I don't really see anybody on the free agency market that the Yankees will pursue. I see a lot of articles talking about Edwin Encarnacion and Jose Bautista. These are guys that you don't want. They're going to be ugly contracts. You want no part of it. The Yankees will definitely stay away from guys like that. I've also seen Rich Hill being thrown around. Rich Hill doesn't make any sense to me. He's a guy who with the Yankees was not good, and I know that he's developed since he left the Yankees. He's 37 years old, though. He's pitching at Oakland. That is a very pitchers-friendly ballpark, and he left Oakland, went to L.A. And L.A., he's in the National League. I don't know. Bringing him into the AL East and having a guy who's older in the rotation that is probably injury waiting to happen, I just don't see it happening. I wouldn't expect to see him come to the Yankees at all. And then the second question, potential trade targets for next season. Like I said, I'm not the general manager, unfortunately. I wish that I was. So I knew what asking prices were on certain people. One person that I do know is Hector Santiago. He wouldn't cost anything. Arbitration, he made $5 million last year. Minnesota was able to get him for basically a basket of potatoes. So the Yankees could probably get him for nothing next year. Lefty sinker baller, he could add some depth to the rotation potentially. The other one, Shelby Miller, probably less likely because the Diamondbacks are definitely going to be looking to, if anybody wants him, try to save face as much as they can on this trade. So I doubt that they're going to be really eager to get rid of him. But at the same time, if you were able to get him for a cheap package, he would definitely be worth trying to take out an insurance policy and try to add some depth into that rotation. But I don't see the Yankees probably pursuing Shelby Miller. The next question is, what are your expectations for next season? Next season, I basically look for it to be the same as the second half of the 2016 season. I think that the Yankees will continue to rebuild. It should be nice seeing Greg Bird and Gary Sanchez batting back-to-back next season. But at the same time, I don't really have my hopes up for a long playoff run or a world championship next year until I see them play and how they work together. I just don't really see how they can improve that much, especially on offense. Brett Gardner and Jacoby Ellsbury are probably there for the long haul. especially Ellsbury. Nobody's going to take Ellsbury's contract. Brett Gardner, possibly they could let go of, but at the